What do
Yes.
you say to busy families who have, a lot of irons in the fire? How do you make life more predictable when there's so much going on?
Yeah, that's real hard. First of all, I usually say to parents, don't expect that your home is going to have the locked in schedule like a school classroom. Okay. The home shouldn't be like that anyway. So I usually talk with parents about what I refer to as anchor points. That in general, in terms of small amounts of time, you're not going to have, okay, 15 minutes we're doing math here, and then we go to the gym for 20 minutes, and it's not going to be like that. But it doesn't mean that you can't make some things predictable. So, for example, depending upon a child's ability, I like to recommend using a whiteboard. So, for example, if the schedule may be a little bit different when a child comes home from school, the parent could take literally 2 or 3 minutes to say, oh, I have to go to a meeting today, and therefore, dad will be home with you if that's a change of routine, or maybe your friend from next door can come over, and write it down. For some kids, they need those visuals. But anchor points are at least points that can be predicted, but we need the visual support for so many students. So it makes things somewhat predictable, even though things might be crazy. And in using visual schedules, what I like to do, and I didn't invent this, many people do this, is they use a particular symbol that indicates there's a change on the schedule. And I think it's important for many of our kids to understand the concepts of change. We're doing it differently. It's not the same, but that's okay. And because what we're working on here is cognitive and emotional flexibility. And so many of our kids need that flexibility. And we could actually, it almost seems like it's a contradiction, but it's not. In using predictable visuals, whether it's written language, for even much more capable kids, typing in their schedule on Outlook and printing it out, or just a simple visual schedule. That adds the predictability, but then we can also indicate when changes are coming. And for some of our kids, when we say change, it's like, oh my God, there's going to be a sledgehammer hitting me on the head. But we have to practice change. Many, many years ago, I remember consulting to a classroom in Massachusetts, and this teacher was so creative. Now, in this classroom, the kids ate their lunches in the classroom. Okay, it was a self-contained classroom for kids with autism and related issues, and she played every day the change game, and she called it the change game, and she had a big symbol for it, and I think it was kind of a visual of lightning. Okay, we're playing the change game, and it might be, okay, you're going to sit at different seats in our classroom lunch today. Or it might be in the morning meeting, first we're going to talk about the weather before we sing songs. And so what she built in was what we hope was a tolerance for doing things differently. But she did it with a sense of humor. She did it in ways that kids sometimes could problem solve through it. Okay? And one of the things I like is rituals. So if she said, okay, we're going to do something differently today, and the kids would go, and that is okay. So we build all of that in as part of the learning, as opposed to changes coming out of the clear blue sky and hitting kids like sledgehammers over the head, which could lead to dysregulation and meltdowns.
Well, what's so genius about that is you're actually adding predictability to change.
Exactly.
I'm going to see a little apple sticker or a curveball sticker because today is a curveball sticker on the calendar on this day because today is different. That adds predictability to predicting change.
That's right. And I think when kids are exposed to that, I remember in this class, one or two of the kids, when I went back to do visits, would say, are we going to do change today? What's going to change today?
Oh, wonderful.
And one of the great regulators is being able to use language to get information that you need. Okay? And think about it. Again, you want to talk about maybe these are the needs of some kids with autism or related challenges. These are human needs. So think about your first couple of weeks in a job. You know, you're trying to get your schedule, trying to make it predictable. If you know there are going to be changes, you might ask one of your colleagues or your supervisor, or whatever, you know, I understand there's a special assembly today. What time is that going to happen? Does that mean that we're going to miss gym, or will gym come after, you know, the special assembly today in school? Kids who can request information through language that helps them see the world as more meaningful, as more predictable, as less stressful, that's a huge regulating factor. Kids who could say, I need a break. Kids who could say, what's going to happen after lunch? Okay? Kids who can just get that information that helps them regulate. So that's a big piece of both social communication and emotional regulation.